makers.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav. That is Pete back again every month. It's nearly every Monday now, me and you, Pete, to be honest with you. It
Morning
is
club.
winners and losers. We put our winners and our losers to a poll on Twitter earlier, and the results came back, so we will let you know what they are as we go on. I'm going to say it early again today. Hit the like button. Just hit it. Hit it now and get it out of the way. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have subscribed, stick on the bell icon. And every time we set a show to go live, you'll know about it. Loads to talk about. Just to fill you in, our winners this week were Liverpool's form, Sam Allardyce's pension, Dave the Save is a loser because he's not saving anything, and Eddie Howe's timekeeping is another one. So we will go through all them. Huge day of football. Fulham beat Leicester. Big win for Fulham. Big loss for Leicester. Everton had a massive 5-1 win away at Brighton, which blew the socks off everyone. And I'm not too sure of the Forest result. They were 3-1 up at half time. What score did that finish? Does anybody know?
4-3 to Forest.
4-3 to Forest to finish. Wow, they don't go easy, Forest, do they? So it's big wins for Forest, and Everton today puts Leicester and Leeds in massive trouble. And we'll talk about the relegation fight and the top four fight and everything else as we go through this. So, P, how are you, my man?
Good, literally just off a plane an hour ago from Malaga. I was down there with some lads from Drimnagh, which everybody knows is where I'm from. A good friend of mine, Will Redmen, is getting married in September, and there was all sorts of guys down there, and it was good. Bumped into a lot of people who have actually been watching. Some people who've been watching Bang Average Golf. I bumped into randomers and ended up having an hour-long conversation about Bang Average Golf.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
love.
cult following now, Gav.
Honestly, Pete fucking doesn't care about the day trippers anymore. He just wants to watch Bang Average Golf. But there's more of that coming. I'm editing stuff at the minute, so we should have a video out tomorrow, one on Thursday, and then 2 or 3 next week as well. So they're going well. Anyway, let's get into it. Winners and losers. Let's start with a winner this week. Let's start with Liverpool's form. After being beaten by City, I think they have 2 draws, Chelsea and Arsenal, and they've won their 6 league games since then, taken 20 from 24 league points, and have put themselves in a position where they've a chance, where we thought the chance was gone. They've a chance of top 4. Big games at the weekend coming. United host Wolves. Newcastle go to Leeds, who must win that game in my opinion, and then Liverpool away to Leicester, and I think they could nearly relegate Leicester on Monday night if they were to win that. But just on Liverpool's form, what do you make of it? Because I think it's been really good results-wise, patchy performance-wise, a bit of trial and error with regards to different players, especially Trent Alexander-Arnold. But like we've spoken so much, Pete, over the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks in particular about results. Performances are secondary, but it's nice if they're good. But at the moment, Liverpool just feel like, and Keith said it, and Emmett said it last night, muscle memory. And that's what it feels like a bit from Liverpool at the moment. What are you making of their form, and how are you feeling going into these last 3 games now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's a sign that the people that watch this show and that watch us in general know what they're talking about. Because there's a lot of shouts today for Everton to be winners, and you don't get to be winners in my view, even winners of the week, by pulling out one win in 120 games, whatever. Um, all jokes aside, but no, you mentioned the term muscle memory. It's a very good analogy. I mean, Liverpool tend to start seasons very, very well, but they tend to end seasons extremely well. I mean, even in some bad seasons from years gone by, it's just they get ahead of steam. The thing that's impressed me most about Liverpool's club, I think it looked to me like you were saying, okay, I'm just going to not write the rest of the season off. I'm going to dedicate the rest of the season 4, 5, 6 games ago, to putting a system together that I can trust for next season, putting Alexander Arnold into a different type of role, and it's been. I mean, we're spoiled now by things kind of working out. We forget how clever Klopp is and how good the players are. Um, it should be a surprise. I mean, it isn't a surprise because it's Liverpool, but coming off the back of such patchy and bad form, to be honest with you, it's why I would have chosen Liverpool's form. As it hasn't come from nowhere, but it's come from tactical tweaks and from Klopp just being a brilliant manager and a brilliant coach. So, and the players having it in them. It's been a pleasure to watch over the last 5, 6 games, to be honest.
When you look at it, like, I think one of the biggest things to come out of it is that the discussion around how permanent this sort of approach to games will be. Is it something that you will see till the end of the season? Because I think they can easily do it away at Leicester. They can definitely do it at home to Villa, and most certainly can do it away to Southampton. That's the final 3 games. But I think that, like, whenever I'm talking to, whether it's yourself, Shawnee, anyone in our Telegram group, a lot of people are talking about, will we see this beyond the end of the season? Do you feel it's just horses for courses, or do you feel it's definitely a project they've started now hoping it would work to try change things up because they needed a good run? And if it does work, it's something that will continue into next season. Because the worry is, from some, that if this works till the end of the season and they bring it into next season, people have no problem with that, but they're worried then about the amount of bodies they may try get in a midfield. Because I've already heard people saying, well, if you move Trent in there and buy a right back, you might only need 2 midfielders. I'm against that, by the way. But do you think it's a permanent thing, or do you think it's just horses for courses?
No, it's definitely not horses for courses, because we don't have an injury crisis. I think Klopp has reacted. Sometimes people throw in things and they think that they're wrong. For example, there's been a few fans, online or whatever, saying maybe we've been sussed out, and this has gone back months. And I think, to be honest, that was the case. And whenever we get sussed out, he'll change things up. And I think it's genuinely the case. And, like, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. Jurgen Klopp and the staff, they're not blind. They understand that. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example. I mean, he wasn't a childhood right back or a childhood defender. He isn't a natural defender. He's a God-given, talented footballer who has an amazing final ball. At times, I see glimpses of Ruud Hulla, all the great midfielders who can, find Pirlo. You can just see amazing things in him. So, and I know everybody goes like, no, he's a right back. But no, it's not horses for course. I just think it's when a club like Liverpool know that they're not going to win a league, they will kind of say to themselves, let's adapt again and let's move on. That's what great coaches do. And Jurgen Klopp is, one of the best around. So, I think your latter observation, Gav, is right. It's more. Let's just tweak this and let's change things up and make sure that we go into next season with some sort of momentum. I wouldn't want to be. I mean, I wouldn't want to be Chelsea, for example. They don't seem to know who's going to be in charge next year. They tried to revert to type by apparently trying to bring Mourinho in for next year, which tells you that they've no direction. We have directionality, and the thing about Liverpool is they will alter course towards the end of the season, even if it's a successful season, just to see with next year in mind. I think you're right, Gav. You've picked up on it kind of unconsciously. You've seen that. That's kind of what way the wind is blowing. But he does that at the end of every season. He makes changes that you kind of go, okay, what's that about? But it looks like he's doing it out of necessity. I don't think he is. I think he's doing it saying, okay, we're not going to win the league. God knows if we're going to qualify for the Champions League. It's a case of, if I don't try something and push for the Champions League, I might regret it. So I'm just going to do it. I think Jurgen Klopp is one of those guys. He'd rather regret doing something than regret not.
Yeah. Whether it stays or not, the way we're playing this system, where do you stand? We touch on it quickly. Where do you stand on midfield? Because and how many we need? Like, would you go with the thinking? Like, because Keita, Chamberlain, and Milner look like they'll go. Right? All the whistle talk around Milner now was Brighton on a free transfer. That's 3 gone. Now, I don't mind what happens with Milner. I'd like Milner to stay because of just the way he carries himself, really. And if he's willing to come on every now and then, grand. If he goes, I think it makes it easier for us to slot players into, ranking a rank within the squad, i.e. maybe a Henderson falling towards that Milner sort of role with regards to time played and stuff like that, and minutes that he gets. But where do you stand on it? Like, if them three are gone and we do persist with this, which would see us line up with Trent at right back but playing an awful lot of football in that kind of defensive midfield role, do you still believe three midfielders are needed?
Yeah, I think he brings in three. And,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you why, Gav. For me, I watch Liverpool like you do every single week. And from minute 1 to minute probably 35, we steamroll teams physically because it's that muscle memory thing that you talked about earlier on, and that even physicality. We seem to overwhelm teams, but then it dies. And we're passed through, we're passed over, we're outran. We need real physicality. There's a reason why people are saying we are going for three. I think we'll probably bring in 3 or 4 midfielders. We need legs. I think you're absolutely spot on. James Milner will be replaced by Jordan Henderson. I'd love to see Milner stick around in the background, but he won't. He's one of the fittest. I mean, the bleep test every year, he runs away with it. And he'll run away with Brighton's bleep test in August, no doubt. But I think he's a big loss in the dressing room. I think young players look at James Milner and think, well,
That's why I think Brighton will bring him in. Because
yeah,
Brighton bring in a lot of young players that may need help settling at the club. They bring in a lot of South Americans and stuff like that. And then not only that, they bring up, like the likes of Evan Ferguson, and there's 1 or 2 others, Irish players as well, at Brighton, that may find themselves in the first team squad. And, when you look back at Milner and Liverpool on a break, I think he played, was it Shrewsbury in the Cup, and he stayed. He stayed with the squad.
Yeah.
He stayed, to be at the game when all the youngsters were put in. That sort of stuff is huge at a club. And I think that's what Brighton are looking for. He'd probably get a bit more game time at 37 years of age at Brighton. But at the same time, the mix of players coming in looking to settle and players moving up from a 23s or wherever it might be, you couldn't ask for better than James Milner. And Lallana is there as well. Lallana is very experienced, as much as Liverpool fans or whoever will knock him. The experience he has at like Southampton, Liverpool, now at Brighton, he's like, I was hearing the other day, McAllister talks about Lallana in huge terms, in really favourable terms. So I think it's a clever move by Brighton if it happens, but I still think the 3 are needed. Because I think it just has to happen. I think you have Trent there as an option to go in there, but like who's to say those 3 midfielders don't start with Trent still doing that anyway, sort of way. So it's one of those. I'm sure it'll come up again and again over the summer, and we'll be doing loads of transfer shows during the summer and just general chats about who might go where and what it means for anybody, what it means to the club and different players at the club as it happens. But we move on. Let's start with the first loser of the week. I'm going to start with Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe was voted as the loser of the week. Now, look, Newcastle have done excellently this year. You take the red tinted glasses off. Newcastle have done excellent, right? I'm not that biggest fan because of the way they're owned. I'm not Man City's biggest fan. I'm not a fan of them at all because of the way they're owned. They've spent a lot of money, Newcastle, and it seems more because they've taken very little in, right? But when you look at the squad he's put together, there's no massive standout marquee sign, and maybe Isaac up front, maybe because he was highly rated. But they've done excellently. They were beaten by Arsenal the weekend. I think Arsenal deserved to win. But honestly, does Eddie Howe have amnesia? And I'm asking that because he's gone on a couple of times now about teams wasting time. And his side put on one of the worst time-wasting performances I've ever seen at Anfield earlier this season. And then cried because we scored in the 98th minute after 8 minutes were thing. But, like, I don't know. Is it just me because I just don't really like what's going on there? Or is it just that Eddie Howe kind of goes under the radar because he's Eddie Howe? But when I see him talking and I hear him saying these sort of things, I'm like, are you for real? It goes back to when Pope was sent off and he was like, oh, well, he's a bit unlucky there We had defenders between the ball and the goal, and there was nobody between the bleeding ball and the goal. And I know managers do it. I know managers do it where, like, Wenger was famous for it. Didn't see it. Sorry, didn't see it. Unless he was looking for a penalty, he's seen everything. But what do you reckon on him? He's voted, as I alluded, a week for his timekeeping, we put it down as, because I just find it massively ironic when Eddie Howe starts talking about time wasting.
Well, Eddie Howe has complete double standards in everything across the board. I mean, I'd be like you. We all grew up watching Newcastle, Kevin Keegan, Philippe Albert, Alan Shearer, all that, thinking, they were there. And it's nothing to do with the. No, I'm not. I'd be lying to say if it's nothing to do with where the money is coming from. I mean, they've double standards in everything. I mean, and I'll be honest with you. I think Eddie Howe is cute as they come. He's kind of thinking to himself, okay, this is the mentality that we're going to have to adopt. We're going to have to start pointing fingers at everybody else that's doing the things that people are going to be accusing us of. I'll be honest with you. I look at what Eddie Howe. I watched the Arsenal Newcastle very, very closely, and I didn't realize. I think we all said this. I thought that, for example, Arteta was a complete chancer. I really did, but he isn't. He's taken every negative that's happened to Arsenal, against Southampton, against Liverpool, and he's turned it and learned and adapted. The gamesmanship that was going on was incredible from the Arsenal. But let me tell you, conversely, Eddie Howe sent a side out. Your man Shar, the big guy Dan Bourne, that dirtbag Guimaraes in the middle of the park, who has a lot of talent, but he's nothing but a thug. If he had an English passport, you'd be looking at Joey Barton, to be honest with you. He was throwing elbows at people, trying to leave the boot in to hurt people. Eddie Howe, for me, I thought he was someone that loved beautiful football and liked it, liked it with a little bit of finesse. He sends guys out to hurt people off the ball, and he's telling them to do that. So I'm being honest with you. I've seen Eddie Howe. I see Eddie Howe in a completely different light. He's just somebody that is adapting to the way he thinks things are, and he's sending guys. I mean, I was delighted when Newcastle were beaten and beaten well. I was looking at some of the fights that were going to say. I mean, that Kieran Trippier is a scumbag, and I mean that. He's an absolute dirtbag. You watch that game very, very closely. These lads are leaving boots in to hurt, not they're leaving. They were Newcastle United were leaving the boot in to break fellas up, to break.
Yeah, you see, one of his arguments was it was a very stop-start game.
No,
There was an awful lot, but like, is it a bit naivety from him? Because, or does Eddie Howe, if he wants to be at this level, this is what happens at this level? Because, like, as much as football teams are brilliant, and actually, do you know what? Liverpool are probably accused of not being cute enough at times, even when they're brilliant, right? But teams at this level, right, when they're chasing something, and I believe Arteta has learned massively off Guardiola in this aspect of slowing a game down, taking your fouls, both conceding fouls and getting free kicks. I think I've seen in Arsenal massively this season how it's basically a regen of what City do. Because City have this way of, I've seen City come to Anfield and, Pep always seemed scared of coming to Anfield, so he would he'd take a player out if he had to, or he'd be looking for make the game a little bit bitty, you know what I mean? And I've seen that in Arsenal, but Eddie Howe needs to understand that if Newcastle United, which probably will be in the Champions League next season, they're going to face 6 group matches where whoever they're playing are going to do that. That's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? Like, someone asked me there, have you checked out his assistant manager smells himself every day of the week. I've seen actually a Twitter account. I can't remember your man's name. Is it Tyndall? Is it Tyndall or something?
yeah, I think
Assistant's name, and your man seems to be everywhere. Like, he's trying to he's shaking hands with Arteta before Howe does and stuff. But does Eddie Howe just need to realise that you're doing it? So when it's done to you, it's definitely going to be done to you by the likes of City, Arsenal, United are good at it. You know what I mean? Chelsea, when they're playing well, are good at it.
Yeah, I think it's games, Gav. I think he understands from playing the nice football at Bournemouth and everyone going, oh, it's great, we're not getting results and la la la, and isn't he wonderful when you get to the Premier? I think he's cute enough, that's what I'm saying, he's cute enough to understand kind of that you have to embrace the dark arts. Also, people are talking about Eddie Howe, so they're not talking about what a dirtbag Kieran Trippier is, what an absolute scumbag Guimaraes is. Even that Joe Linton. That Joe Linton is a nothing but a. I mean, he's a Brazilian, and I swear to God, he's the worst Brazilian footballer I've ever seen in my life. Dan Bourne is a hatchet man. Yeah, they've done. Yeah, man, Pope is erratic, running around trying to behead people, but nobody's talking about them. Yeah, they haven't got anyone up front that can. Yeah, man, Alberon doesn't play because he's not physical enough. You know, St. Maximin doesn't play because he's not physical enough. He dances around. So he's kind of trying to reinvent the Chelsea thing, to be quite honest with you. I think that's the direction that Newcastle are going to go. They're going to go the Chelsea route because they've never embraced that before. They're going to try, I'd say they'll bring in a big man like Didier Drogba up front to play through the middle, elbows out and get the results. I think that he's learned from Nice get you nowhere because Newcastle had Nice under Kevin Keegan and they won 0 trophies.
Ashley L says during the 50 months out of the game, Eddie Howe admittedly spent time in Madrid studying Simeone. He said, "We're not here to be popular, we're here to compete." It's faster toys too, says all Premiership managers are hypocrites to some extent. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. But I don't mind if a manager says, "I'm not really sure if I've seen it." And you kind of deflect away from it. But some of the stuff Howe says, like he says it as if it's fact. And it's so far off the mark. And somebody else says there, the ball is in play 52% of the time during Newcastle matches, the lowest in the Premier League. It's I don't know. And like we put it up there because he was giving out again this week about time wasting. And I still think the biggest time wasting job of this season is Newcastle away at Anfield. It was unbelievable. Like it was like, do you know what? Do you know what actually triggered it for me today? We were talking last night on the Fatback 4 about referees, and I need to be careful here because people don't like us talking about referees because they skip past it and stuff like that. But we were talking about Alisson getting booked for time wasting in the 70 odd minute, right? And I was saying, when have you ever seen that? Like, I can genuinely remember Newcastle at Anfield, like time wasting 70 seconds into the game, never mind 70 minutes. You know what I mean? And it was massively blown up at the time, if you remember, because Carvalho scores in the 98th minute. Newcastle were like, it was 8 minutes on the clock and he scored on 98 something. And people were like, yeah, and you time wasted during that 8 minutes as well. So it was a massive, massive story at the time. So just for me, for Eddie Howe to turn around and say, it was a very bitty game and they were wasting time and stuff, I'm kind of going, mate, you know what I mean? You should have just, like, you'd have been better off coming out and going, we played quite well, we could have done better. They managed the game better than us. We got beaten. But he didn't. And it just keeps going on. Kieran B reckons they are the biggest time wasters in the league.
Kieran is right. They are. I mean, and that's the plan. When you don't have someone that's sticking the ball in net regularly, you play as a unit like they have been. You get your goal, and you know that you're going to be back to the wall for a huge portion of the game. They break rhythms. Do you know what I mean? And that's what they've been trying to do. But when it happens to them, they hate it. It's always projection, Gav. It's always projection.
Martin says Pickford lay on the ball after 35 seconds at Anfield. Yeah, well, Pickford was Pickford at Anfield last season. I was at it and it was bad, but it was Pickford. Yeah. This was the whole Newcastle side. Like every time it stopped, we were taking an eternity to do anything. You know what I mean?
What a show from Brecky there. Pete, remember Alphonso Alves from Middlesbrough, the worst Brazilian forward ever.
Was he the guy that scored a load of goals in Holland?
He did. He scored.
Middlesbrough liked doing that. Remember they signed, what was the other lad, the baldy fella?
Oh yeah, he was Italian, wasn't he? He played for the Italian.
Macaroni, was it?
Massimo Macaroni.
Yeah, Macaroni. Yeah, we're going to end up on one of these tangents where we're just naming forwards now. No, look, Eddie Howe was voted as loser of the week. They will probably make Champions League. We'll talk about that.
I tell you, they won't compete in it.
Well, it depends now because people said, they can spend what they like and they could because as much as he hated Ashley, he steered a very tight ship. But what happens is when you go into European competition, the whole FFP stuff changes for you. you know, and they start looking at you from the minute you arrive in it. You know what I mean? The minute you
The
arrive
only
in
thing
it, they
I'd say
start
about
looking at you
Newcastle,
for over 3 years.
the only thing I'd say about Newcastle, Gav, is what they 57,000 people every week. This is not
I
Manchester
don't
City.
think it's that high.
I think it might be. Somebody might say in the chat what their
It
capacity
might
is,
be
but it's somewhere around there.
50-ish, yeah, somewhere along
But
that lines. Anyway.
every week that stadium is full. They are, in fairness to them, they're a cult following up there. I mean, people mightn't like them all they like, but those fans, even when they were, I remember they were like the equivalent of League One. They were like the old Fourth Division, and they had 30s, 40,000 people every single week. So they might. This is not Manchester City where they make up pretendy figures. Oh, well, we need to extend the stadium. I mean, what a joke! We need to extend the stadium. You know what I mean? This is not. It's Newcastle. They've got a chance now. They'll still be, as you say, they'll still be heavily scrutinised. But I think that they could probably even build onto another 10,000 seats and probably fill it as well.
They
So
could, yeah,
I'll give it to them.
but
I'll give it to them there.
but the thing is, 52,000
Yeah,
capacity says
yeah,
Dragon Ball.
yeah.
And the atmosphere is incredible to Kieran B. It is. It always was in Newcastle, whether it was at 35 or 40, where it always was. And there's no issue there. I just think if Eddie Howe is going to bring these into the Champions League, and he will spend money in the summer, there's no doubt about it, because especially if they get into Europe, they can spend, but then they have to watch. But that's when the whole cycle starts. That's when the CE that's when the CE microchip gets stuck in then, and then you see where they go. And I'm telling you now, in 3 years' time, we'll be all having the same conversation we're having around City. We'll be having it around Newcastle. There's just no doubt about that. You know what I mean? Because these people aren't here to go, oh, you've done fifth, that's great, or sixth. That doesn't work like that. And they will go any way they can in order to make sure they're up there.
Right.
Look, we'll talk about the top four at the end. I want to leave it till the end. Next loser, David De Gea.
Jesus
Now,
Christ.
Pete, I watched this game against West Ham. When I say I watched it, it was on. I was in and out of the living room. I was doing bits and pieces. And honestly, right, when that goal went in, I had to check if David De Gea was in goal, because I thought, oh, do you know what it looked like? It looked like United had a goalkeeper sent off and had no keeper on the bench, and they'd stuck Young in goal. Because Benrahma hits a shot that's trickling, and he's backtracking and whatever else. What is he doing? And the reason I put him in there as a loser this week and seeing if people would vote for me is because the reaction from United fans is he's done it again, right? It's becoming too much of a regular occurrence. There's meant to be a new contract on the table, and they're shitting themselves. He's definitely a loser of the week because he's dropped United in and now where they're not in massive trouble, but if they don't beat Wolves and Liverpool win, they're in massive trouble, right? And I kind of got me thinking today, we talk about he's not good enough for United. Is it time for some of the old guard that you would consider good to go with United in order for really Ten Hag to get his grip on this? Because that's what it feels like to me, because De Gea yesterday, that was just appalling.
I watched it, obviously down in Malaga, and you're right, Gav. I mean, he's seen it all the way. And listen, Victor Lindelof is getting away with a lot of criticism here. There's three Manchester United defenders, one midfielder and two Manchester United defenders are converging on the attack.
Sorry, Benrahma.
On Benrahma, all together. And if you're defending, if you're the centre half and a good tackler like Lindelof is supposed to be, because you've got the security of the two of them, one of them was running towards the goal. You go in and you make the challenge, and Lindelof backs off, and the ball ends up going through his legs. Now, in saying that, Gav, it's still 25 yards from goal,
and it's not hit with any power.
And he hasn't caught it at all. And I wouldn't mind. De Gea is already on the way down. He has his body right, his body shape is right. He gets his hand down to the position where he should be. I thought he could actually afford to lift his left hand across and actually palm it to safety. But he's left the right hand there, because I always think that David De Gea's want is to make things look great, which is why he gets,
Emma Kavanagh says De Gea tries to plant his feet and his left foot slips from under him. He doesn't get enough punches on the turf
It's not an
to push
excuse though,
himself
Emma. He's
across for the
already
save.
there. He's already there. And the right, there should be enough strength. He's on the ground. There should be enough strength from the elbow up to do something, to at least stop the ball. He has these in him. Listen, I know he's pulled off miraculous saves, but he's starting to look like that fella who you sign from a relegated club because he's had 500 shots against him, and you could put a great YouTube clip, montage together of him doing fantastic things. But when he doesn't have that much to do, and then he lets you down when he has something to do. So he's starting to look like that guy. And I think the second thing is everybody misses a trick that Ferguson never missed. As soon as your hunger is gone, and he felt that you weren't quite at it, or that you felt that you'd done everything, like Van Nistelrooy, like Beckham, like Paul Ince before him, like everybody except Roy Keane. As soon as he felt that he could read off you that you felt you'd done everything at the club, that was it. You are gone. And I just see again, I would have the writing has been on the wall for David De Gea, I think, for 2 years, maybe a little bit more, and
It's
nobody's gone on about it.
But Chris Brack says De Gea looks like Pepe Reina at the end of his career at Liverpool. For the last 18 months of that, Pepe forgot where his near post was and always got beat there. De Gea feels like he's gone stale, right? Um, you know, look, I want to go into. I have De Gea down as a loser because he lets that goal in, right? But on a bigger scale, right? On a bigger scale of things, like looking at United yesterday, like someone said there in the chat, they're all fucking shooting from 30 yards, and they're all, Bruno Fernandes has 6 goals this season. Rashford has 16. That's the 2 top scorers. Bruno Fernandes is meant to be a leader of this team. It playing an attacking position. He should be doing more. Sancho, right? Massive price tag. Now, in fairness, I think Sancho's had issues off the pitch mentally as well. So, I'd kind of give him a little bit of a pass. Because without saying it, I think Ten Hag did say it a couple of months ago. Yeah. But then you look at Anthony, or £80 million or whatever it was, right? And like genuinely, like a United fan I know, Dar calls him a fidget spinner. You know what I mean? He says, "We paid 80 million quid for a fidget spinner." You look at Martial. Martial to me has all, and again, I've heard United fans saying all the talent in the world, doesn't want to apply it, right? Of course. But he's bringing him on to try save a game, right? You look at midfield, Casemiro's an excellent player, but I think he's looked a bit leggy over the last couple of weeks, right? You have Fred that seems to have fallen out of favour a little bit. Eriksen isn't getting any younger, but he's still a fantastic footballer. Yeah. Wan-Bissaka was written off at the start of the season. He's getting games now. Ahead of Delo, who was first choice at the start of the season, from what I can make out. Harry Maguire's an unmitigated disaster, right? Lindelof, I actually quite like Lindelof as a defender when you put him aside alongside the likes of Maguire and whoever, and you measure them up. Varane picking up injuries all the time.
He's not going to give you.
Well, you see, I've never been Varane's biggest fan, even when he's at Real Madrid. But what I'm trying to say is that it kind of struck me yesterday that you can kind of go, he's not good enough. But is it when you look at some of the older guard, like, and De Gea is the one that pops up straight away. Maybe it is just it needs freshening up. And as somebody said in the chat earlier, and I apologise, he said, I'll get it up for you now because it was a really good point and I just missed it. He said, Owen said United will be buying a keeper in the summer, he feels, because De Gea does nothing that Ten Hag wants his keeper to do. Yeah. So, De Gea cost him. But when you look around that team, all right, they're going on about how well they've done this season, right? They have a game in hand, Liverpool, they sit a point ahead of them, and we feel we've been appalled.
Terrible. Exactly. And Gav, I'll be honest with you, the one player you didn't mention, and I have to mention, playing in the number 9 position, Weghorst. Weghorst wouldn't get a game for Burnley. I mean, if you're, don't get me wrong, Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't the answer, but I think of fellas like Cavani, I think of fellas that they've had, that a club like Manchester United with the players you've got around. I mean, Anthony is a terrible player. He's a terrible attitude. somebody tried to compare him to a young Cristiano when he came in, and he thought he had it figured out, but he doesn't have the. I don't think he has the. But you look at what's playing at 9, and it starts at a club like Man United. It starts there. At other clubs, it starts at centre half. And Manchester United starts there, and then it works its way back to everybody else. And there's just I would you would rather take a chance on some 18-year-olds. I don't understand. This fella was built up to be Ten Hag, the great genius of our time, and heralding in a new era and taking no garbage. He got rid of Ronaldo as quick as he could, but it goes to show everybody's fallible. He knows the guy, brings him in on loan, and his pride. It's actually incredible to see him start a player like that. It's incredible.
Yeah, but you
It's
see that,
incredible.
but Pete, that's where the other argument that this comes from, the other side of it comes from, because it all blew up about United yesterday, right? Just a few comments in, right? G10 says the hay has been poor since the 2018 World Cup, in his opinion, living off reputation. He said, Owen Burke says Diallo they have on loan at Sunderland looks a better player than Anthony. Ajax still
Unbelievable.
must be still laughing at how they got 100 million for him. Kev O'Sullivan feels Manuel Neuer probably goes to United in the summer. Um, Manuel Neuer is a brilliant goal, one of the best probably
He's
of all
26,
time,
God.
right? But
20 and,
this is what I'm saying. Like
mm,
somebody else said there. Yeah, I think it was about the I think it was the Brentford goalkeeper. Um, yeah, Barry Devon. He says Raya to United and Kelleher to Brentford, because Kelleher's position is kind of up for debate at Liverpool. But Neuer doesn't feel like an answer to me. Neuer feels like, oh,
stop.
he's gone stale. We'll bring in Neuer. He's 36. We get a season or two out of him. I don't think, and I don't think Eric Ten Hag has done a bad job. I really don't. I think they were appalling last season. They look a bit like they have an idea what they're doing this season. I think he's underestimated the job he has. I genuinely, I think he's come in and thought, I can stamp my thing on these and we'll get something. But I think he might have stamped and went, yeah, this isn't really moving.
No, yeah.
I need to. And that's why I keep thinking the likes of De Gea, what sway does he hold, And he probably needs to, not for his own sake, I think for the club's sake, he might need to turn around and go, De Gea just needs to go.
Yeah.
I need to bring in, if the club's going to trust me, I need to bring in a younger goalkeeper, fresh, that's looking to progress. Like pull any name out, player in his mid-20s that's on top form, bang, the sort of way. But then it goes to the other side of it, and they lose yesterday, and Gary Neville comes out, and he says, really, really poor. Doesn't have, no, I watched United yesterday, they were really, really poor. I don't think what Ten Hag done was helpful. It just seemed to be, I throw a fella on and see what happens. But Gary Neville comes out and says really, really poor, but it's a positive for Ten Hag because he can see who he wants on his bus next season. And right, and he uses that as an angle then to turn and go, but it's the Glazers' fault, because the Glazers won't let go of the club. And
Can I ask you a question, Gavin? Do you think that Anthony, Bruno Fernandes, Lindelof, David De Gea, do you think any of them are walking out on that park thinking, I can't perform today because this club is on paper £1 billion in debt, and I don't know where the next billion is coming from? Gary Neville, let me tell you about Gary Neville. Everybody that watches this knows that I was last year, the year before. Gary Neville, great, the voice of the people. At least he has a bit of integrity. Gary Neville is doing a little twerking act for Qatar. Anyone from Qatar to come in, and what he's trying to do is tell you with every breath he has how bad the Glazers are. By the way, who have spent and assembled the most expensively assembled squad that the world has ever seen, but that they're so bad that's the reason that anything that comes in, because he won't mention them specifically by name, Qatar, that anyone that comes in is going to be the lesser of two. And I tell you why I'm right, because last week somebody talked about Jim Ratcliffe and the fact that he come in and he will have a minor stake on the board. Now, Jim Ratcliffe has serious resources, but the Glazers would still be there. So in the back of Gary Neville's head, he's thinking, "Oh, we'll still be, they still won't spend 100 million here and 100 million there, and won't wipe this, won't wipe that." Gary Neville doesn't care about integrity. He doesn't care about, the values of Manchester. He only cares about looking across the road at Manchester City and wanting what they have, whatever it takes. So all of the bullshit that we've been listening to from Gary Neville about it's not right, it has to be the right way, that's all lies. And it's just twerking for Qatar. It makes me sick. I mean, there was nothing, you were right, Gav, yesterday on Twitter. It had nothing to do with the Glazers. Nothing
No,
to do with it. None of those players are thinking about the Glazers are still here, I can't perform.
but
Ridiculous.
the whole thing around it is right. And as much as the whole thing with the Glazers needs to be sorted out one way or the other, because if it's not sorted out,
The debt is debt
no.
serviceable.
But what I'm saying is they need to sort it out one way or the other. The Glazers need to come out or whatever happens and say, right, the Glazers are staying, or that other guy is coming in and the Glazers are getting 20%. But the rumour is that they get 20%, they still have a massive say in the club, even though they only own 20%, right? But it needs to be sorted out because it's just a fallback option every time something goes wrong. Like Gary Neville is saying there yesterday, nobody knows who's going to be running the club next season, and nobody knows what the budget's going to be. They're classless till the end. And I'm kind of looking, going, hold on a minute. You're calling Manchester United one of the biggest clubs in the world, which they are, right? And you actually expect people to believe that Manchester United, whether they're going through the due diligence of a takeover, haven't got something in place for summer transfers. Are you actually fucking joking me? Of course they do. Every club in that Premier League, right, and Championship or wherever it is, if they're a professionally run football club, will already be eyeing up who they want to get rid of, who their targets are, and they probably down the road with some of them. We know this. We know this, right? Because what will happen is we'll get to July well before July the 1st, but it opens on July the 1st. We'll get there and it'll be like, oh, they're in for this fella, they're not in for this fella because they decided on Friday, listen, on Monday we're going for him. They're in because the talks have gone on ages. So Gary Neville trying to treat Manchester United fans and football fans in general as fucking idiots, right, doesn't wash with me, because Gary Neville knows how clubs work, right? Gary Neville owns Salford City. I can tell you now, Salford City know who they want next season, who they don't want, because that's how you run football clubs. You don't get the final whistle at the end of the season and go, what will we do? You just don't. And the fact that it's being taken over means very little, absolutely very little, right? The only thing it would mean is that if they get taken over and they can put extra money in, they might go, we're going to try and sign these 3, but now we're signing 5. Do you know the sort of way? And every time something goes wrong, he blames the Glazers, right? Yeah. And you see, he has to keep up this facade because he wouldn't blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so he won't blame Erik ten Hag. Now, some of the chat have said Ten Hag hasn't done anything that Ole hasn't done. I disagree. I think he plays a slightly better standard of football. They look like they have a plan. Is it working? Not all the time. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when they were manager, genuinely I didn't know what United were doing. Like, they were coming out on the pitch and I hadn't a fucking clue what they were trying to do.
Because he didn't know.
And they sat in their own box for most of the games against most teams. And teams were going to Old Trafford and dominating the ball, and you never done that. So, you know what I mean? Like, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just went in and went, oh, don't lose a game. Ten Hag looks to win games. I just don't think he has the bodies to do it.
Do you know another thing, Gav, that annoys me about Gary Neville? See this false equivalency that you see a lot. He's every time he gets a chance as well, every 7 or 8 tweets, he'll talk about FSG and say, oh, Liverpool deserve investment as well. What he's doing there, he's trying to create a false equivalency between Liverpool's situation and Manchester United. Now, you're talking about a world of a difference. Liverpool have no debt and we all know the model. We've talked about it at length. But he's trying, again, it's another sure sign of what he's trying to do. Trying to say, you need it, we need it. And, trying to justify so he doesn't turn around if it happens and have to say, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible disappointment to see someone. I'd rather somebody turn around and say, listen, I don't care about this money. It's going somewhere else. It's going to other clubs from other organizations. So why not us? And terrible things are going to happen. It's not going to stop terrible things on. But for them to fly the flag about how terrible the world is in one breath and do all that. But the false, that's another thing that makes me sick. And you're right, Gav. It's hard to listen to.
Well, you
And
see, I
you
don't.
called the force. You called the force a while ago. You were the one turning around saying Pete, and I was no, he's great and this and that. But you're right. This whole Peter Liam and Salford and all, it's just as bad as just on another
Yeah,
level.
but that's listen, that's his business, right? Now Manchester United is his business because he played all his career there and he's a Manchester United fan, right? People are mentioning Saint and Greavesy in the chat here. Saint and Greavesy was unbelievable. Did I see
Yeah.
something actually? They're going to do something around Saint and Greavesy. They're bringing out some sort of feature and thing. I must look that up. If anyone knows in the chat, let me know. But Manchester United, what is his business to a point where he's a supporter, still a supporter of Manchester United, holds them dear to his heart. That's absolutely fine, right? But don't throw out empty fucking things like just to rile people up by going, and no plans for the summer, and no one knows this, and they all know what they're doing. They all know what they're doing. And the funny thing is, right, they'll know it even more if they're in talks for a takeover, because the takeover talks will be, have you looked at this? What are you looking to spend this summer? What will that do to the balance sheet? What will that do to what the value of the club is? What that asset that comes in, our image writes off and would be, everything is down to. So United aren't going to be doing that. But I'd love it all to be sorted just so they can stop talking about the Glazers every time something goes wrong.
I don't want them to have what he wants.
But you see, the funny thing is, right? I'd say he wants Ratliff, right?
No,
I
disagree, completely
well, you
disagree.
see, the thing is better option for him is Ratcliffe, because the thing is, if Qatar turn around and buy this tomorrow, he is going to be doing donuts trying to fucking get out of what he said before, because he made a song and dance about Qatar. He went to Qatar. He was given the opportunity to speak out. He went over and got paid to go there, right, and work in Qatar, and it was passed off as an opportunity to go over there. And the way he spoke and tried to speak out, and I put that in inverted commas, was abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. He spent 2 minutes on TV talking about it and then shut his mouth for the rest of the tournament, right? But now he's going to have to stand there and go, my club, as he calls it, is now owned by Qatar, that I had a massive issue with 6 months ago. And I made a song and dance about 6 months ago. But I think the irony will be lost on him anyway. So that's
No,
that.
but he'll do it, and you're right. But he'll do it. He'll say the place was falling apart, and what we'll do is we'll put an organisation together. The spirit of whatever old Manchester United, and we'll make sure that they're accountable, and that we'll ask them about what things are going on in Abu Dhabi or wherever. In Qatar, we will make the difference. He will fly that flag.
No, he won't, because if Qatar take over the football club, they won't care what Gary Neville thinks.
Yeah, but he'll pretend
as much as they probably don't care now at the Glazers. These are care less. G10 says, in fairness, United windows in the last decades, which wouldn't suggest that they know what they're doing or have any semblance of a plan. I'm not saying it works. I'm not saying what they want to do or what they know what they're going to do works, but they definitely know what they're going to do. You know what I mean? I'd be more worried as a Manchester United fan if they actually didn't know what sort of plan they had for the summer.
Yeah.
Right? And they definitely do, because if they're under due diligence or bids to be taken over, every single thing is going to be asked. Every single thing is going to be looked at. Right? And I'm sorry, but Manchester United went out the weekend. David De Gea threw one in the net, and Gary Neville's first thing is to say they play bad, tell Eric Ten Hag it's a positive, and then just lash the Glazers out. Right, the Glazers weren't in goal. Right,
Yeah.
They have the goalkeeper was probably the best goalkeeper in the league, in the world at one stage. Right, so that's a managerial thing. Right, that's kept them on and pushed for new contracts. They have a fullback they spend 50 million quid on. They have another one they spend 35 on. Right, Lindelof was 30 plus million. Right, last year was new. Shaw played centre half. Then you look at Casemiro. Right, big money. Right, big contract. Ericsson, will be on a decent wage. You've got Rashford, who was fucking, Ballon d'Or about 6 months ago. You know what I mean? You've all these players. Anthony, 80 million quid. You've all these players, and they all throw the thing Weghorst. And that's the carrot that they'll throw around at the Glazers. Oh, because of the Glazers, we had to sign Weghorst. Right? No, because why didn't you just hold on to Cristiano Ronaldo for 6 more months?
because Eric Ten Hag had to flex his muscles and show everybody how important he
Well,
was.
there you go. Well, then Ten Hag made the decision, and Ten Hag made the decision to bring him in. If Ten Hag didn't like it, he should have turned around and said, "No, I'm bringing back the fella from Sunderland, and I'm playing him, or Rashford's playing up front, or whatever." But he didn't. You know what I mean? So, look, I don't know. People pay to listen to this stuff from these people, and I just can't get my head around it. And you know, like, don't get me wrong, right? You can get frustrated with your club, and if it's a long running thing and all, but when United were winning games 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks, nobody cared about the Glazers. It only turns up when you lose a game.
Yeah.
Simple as that. No, I haven't heard a single FSG thing in the last 6 games Liverpool are winning. But if they lose against Leicester on Monday, you'll hear it again. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, you can. I'm not saying there's nothing to what Neville said, but don't throw it out as fact. Don't throw it out as fact, because you don't know it. You don't know if it's fact. Winner of the week. We better get out of here. Winner of the week is Sam Allardyce's pension. Because Sam Allardyce is taking over at Leeds, and because of the results today, I think Leeds may have dropped into the bottom 3. I can look it up now, but they've been falling like a stone. Right, they had a bit of an upturn under Javi Gracia, and then it's just gone horribly wrong. I feel Jesse Marsch was never the right appointment, and I said this to Joe, that Leeds fans will be on us. Never felt he was the right appointment. Dropping
good guy, Joe.
Yeah, dropping like a stone. Everton had that big win. Forest win today. Leicester were appalling and got beaten 5-2 or 5-3. I think Southampton are gone now after that result tonight, and you'd have to make Leicester and Leeds the favourites to go down now. But Sam Allardyce has come in, and Sam Allardyce is getting a few quid, big few quid, 6 games, and he'll be on the road again. Like, he just keeps coming, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's one of those things where the club has to be seen to do something, and they have to be seen to, okay, this is what we would need, this type of guy, and la la la. And Sam Allardyce comes in and says the things that he needs to be seen to be saying. I'm not saying he's not capable, obviously. I just think, if I'm quite honest with you, they probably would have been better off sticking with the Argentinian fella, who had them running circles around people at least for an hour before they tired and lost some games. But they were in better shape. For me, it's the easiest. We won't make the 4 million. Probably it's the easiest 2 million quid anybody will ever make in 4 weeks. That's what makes him an absolute winner. I mean, it's incredible. Nobody learns anything from, in any situation. They could have given a young coach. They probably would have been better off giving a young coach a chance.
Yeah, because at the end of the season, say Leeds stay up, Sam Allardyce doesn't stay there. So what did he do? Yeah. They bring in another guy, and he'll probably get 15 games. And then they bring in another guy, and he'll get another 15. Then they bring in Sam Allardyce again. I get the whole we have to survive thing, but the lack of forward thinking from some of these clubs just blows my mind. Like, Javi Gracia was never coming into Leeds to stay there for years after Jesse Marsch, right? But either bring Sam Allardyce in and say you have 15 games, right, to save us, but we're looking for the future here, right? Or bring the coach in that you want and get him now and say to him, whatever happens, we are behind you. Disregard everything else. We are behind you. And they do neither of them things. They let Javi Gracia run for 7, 8, 9 games, wherever it might be. Then they throw in Allardyce with 4 to go. Right? And it's like, lads, if you stay up, what do you do? And if you go down, what will happen? The same thing will happen, because if you go down and you're on top of the championship after 20 games, someone's getting the chop. Because Leeds have been back in the Premier League. This is their 3rd season back in, I think, after being out for 16. And they won't want a repeat of what happened from 2004 up until 2020. 16 years. Yeah. So, Sam Allardyce has pulled off a masterstroke here. 4 games, nice big wedge, gets his name back in there. And it's not only is he might do it. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't put it past him. But he puts himself out there again to go, anyone needs that, lads, around next February, I'm here. You know, the sort of way.
Yeah.
Or he might blag a bleeding year's contract or a 2-year off somebody. And even if it doesn't work, she'll get paid off anyway. He's just managed to put himself back in there. With regards to the bottom three, though, I think Leeds against Newcastle is monstrous.
Yeah.
Absolutely monstrous. I am early Saturday. I think if Leeds don't win that game, they're gone. Genuinely, I think they're gone. We play Forest, or we play Leicester on the Monday night. As I said, I think Southampton's gone. Leicester have a couple of tough games coming up as well. But who goes down for you?
Well, Everton have Man City, so forget it. Man City will win that game.
Everton have Man City at home, Wolves away, and Bournemouth at home.
It depends on which Wolves turn up, to be honest with you. Wolves could turn up, frustrate the life out of you, and get one, and you're not getting through them. And it really depends on what. Bournemouth might be a bit of a gimme, but Bournemouth always hurt Everton. I think Everton get 1 point, one more point.
Oh,
one more,
which will put them on 33.
Yeah,
I think they get 4.
So you think that they beat Wolves and they draw with Wolves and they beat Bournemouth,
which will put them on 36, which would mean Leeds would have to get 7 from the last 3. And I can't see that happening. So that's why I think Leeds are gone. I think the interesting one is Leicester. Yeah. Leicester were terrible today, but Kev O'Sullivan, I was chatting to Kev O'Sullivan during the game, he might have put it in our Telegram group, and he said they look so threatening going forward, but they're fucking all over the place at the back. And better teams will absolutely take them apart. If you're in the chat, let me know, or let us know, who you think is the 3 going down, because that's a huge win for Everton. I think, I listened to the Blue Room, as I've already said, Dave Downey, and they were of the opinion, can we get 6 from the last 2 games to get 35 points? Now they're on 32 now, which means 35 might be enough. Because Leeds sit on 30 with 3 games left. Leeds play Newcastle at home, away to West Ham, home to Spurs. That's their last 3. Leicester's last 3 is Liverpool at home. I think they're away to Brighton. And then I don't know who they're home to on the last day of the season.
Leeds are home to Spurs, are they? The last day?
Leeds are home to Spurs this Saturday. Leeds are home to Spurs the last day. Yeah. But Spurs don't have anything to play for.
And that's a problem with Tottenham.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's a problem. Yeah. That's a real problem. I fancy Leeds there.
Yeah. Laszlo says Leeds, Leicester and Southampton to go down. Southampton, Leeds and Leicester again. Barry Devaney. Southampton, Leicester, Leeds, says Charlie. They're all the same. They're all the same. We are going to send Leicester down. Says LFC Monty. Southampton.
Somebody was saying today, Gavin, though, that Everton are in line for the big points deduction.
Yeah, but the thing is, right? The thing is, I think Everton are in an awful position regardless, because I think if they stay up, they get. I think they either get a points deduction or they get a transfer ban. And if they get a points deduction, you're probably looking at. You look at Derby. Derby had 20 points taken off them in the Football League.
Yeah.
If Everton get 10 points taken off at the start of the season, they go down.
Game
right?
over.
If they get a transfer ban, I think they go down, because that squad there is the best you're going to have. And you're going to have Pickford or Onana or Calvert-Lewin going, I want out of here. Yeah. You know what I mean? We can't bring any players in. Look at last season. It was terrible. You know, the sort of. I think they're in an off position anyway. The points deduction or that, I don't think will come until after the season is finished. Now, I'm actually amazed that publicly Southampton, Leeds, Leicester, Forest, them 4 haven't asked questions earlier publicly about what's going on with Everton and their finances.
Or
and
maybe they have.
Well, they haven't publicly because it would come out. But if they go down, they're in the Football League then. They're not in the Premier League. And I think the Premier League is the one investigating them at the minute. If they go down into the Football League, then the Football Association could look at it and go, hold on, you know, we're doing this. But the financial losses to them if they go down, because of the situation they're in, and accusations that Usmanov was still funding them through a different third party, which is another thing. But the losses, where the financial position is now, coupled with going down and trying to build that stadium, is like perfect storm stuff. You know what I mean? It's absolutely, it's genuinely Sunderland without Sunderland having a ground. Do you know what I mean? Or Sunderland trying to build a ground. Most people think Leeds, Leicester, Southampton. Vast majority in the thing. Like, there's 3 games to go for all of them now. Everton's on 30, Forest 33, Leeds or Everton 32, both Leeds and Leicester on 30. I think what might happen this weekend, I think Leeds might get something off Newcastle. I think City will beat Everton. I think Liverpool will beat Leicester. And I think Leicester will nearly be condemned this weekend. And I think it'll be between
Leeds,
Everton, Leeds, Everton and Forest for the last spot.
What happens, Gavin, though, in the best case scenario for Everton, for example, best case scenario, they stay up and there's no points deduction. Who signs for them to improve that squad?
Well, the problem they have is that if they stay up, you see, I don't know how they get away from this financial stuff, because this isn't the first instance of it, right? And we're going to get out of here in a minute, I promise, because I've one last question for you. The problem with everything is that they were flagged by the Premier League last year with regards to their finances, right? Because their percentage of wages compared to their turnover is massive, high 80s, I think, right? And they were flagged because of this. Now, at the time, it was told that the Premier League and Everton Football Club were working together to resolve this, because there was a grey area with regards to you can only lose 105 million over 3 years. Everton were up at 260 odd million, and I think that's risen, because what happens is they take the furthest year away. You know, as you go, it's obviously the last 3 years they're just sitting in. I think it's up around 300 million they've lost over the last 3 years. But the grey area was COVID and the stadium. Now, the claims from Everton, from what I've read, is that the claims from Everton is that COVID, they suffered more than any club in world football around COVID, double or anybody else, right? Which the Premier League weren't really buying, plus the stadium costs. But it came out that the stadium costs are only being paid at certain times. So how could you have stadium costs when you've paid up to now, but they were kind of putting costs that were down the road into what the losses were? It didn't make sense, right? The loss of Usmanov has been huge to them. Now, that was all flagged. And everything came out and said, we're working with the Premier League to resolve this, make sure everything's all right. And then the Premier League came out and said there's a problem. Now, I personally think, and I'm just a person reading about it, I personally think that they probably were working. And then Everton went and signed a player or two and went above what they were meant to go. And the Premier League went, you're meant to be bringing this down now. And now you've brought it up. So we have to activate this. For the interest of every other stakeholder here, we have to activate what's going on here. But I don't think the Premier League want to do anything about this until the season is resolved, right? Because what would happen is that if they turn around to Everton tomorrow and said you have a 10-point deduction, Everton are relegated, right?
Game over.
Right, game over. They can't get the points to get out. Then it leads to, we're going against that. We're going to appeal that. So the league plays out. Everton go down, right? Leeds stay up, and Everton appeal it, and this drags on. How do you start a league next year?
Yeah.
Right, so I think they're waiting to see what way the land lies. I think the Premier League would like Everton to go down, because it gets them off their watch a little bit.
They need to make an example of somebody in order to hammer Man City as well. To be honest,
well, the Man City thing is, but you see, the Man City thing is different, because Everton have losses. Man City have money that they're saying they have, and they believe they've made it up. Right, but the problem is that the FA have come out with 100 charges against Manchester City, so that's going to take time to get absolutely worded correctly in order to go to this tribunal that they'll do, and it'll be a week long or whatever it might be. The thing with Everton is they've worked alongside the Premier League with this, and now something has gone wrong. Something has gone wrong where they've done something and it's triggered it over again. And the Premier League went, well, we're working with you, because there was a grey area around COVID and this and stadiums. But now you've done it again. Do you know what I mean? But they don't want to be seen 8 games out to take 10 points off them. You usually get it. Now, in fairness, Reading, I think, got something early this season. Derby got it, but I think Derby might start the season with 20 points gone, or knew at the start of the season you were getting this.
Yeah,
this was coming.
They did.
Whereas I don't think they'll do it before the season ends, because if they fell out of the league, the Premier League will go, not in the league. They're gone. Do you know what I mean? And then it's a case of everyone trying to fix their own financial issues. If they stay in the league, you could possibly expect the teams to go down to go, hold on a minute. Do you know what I mean? Especially the teams that finish toward bottom. You know, the sort of way. But you asked the question, what do they do if nothing happens? I don't know how nothing happens for a start. But the money they're losing, I don't know who signs them. I don't know where they pull the money from.
Exactly.
Because they're just losing money hand over fist. Like, their wages is... Now, people will say they're going to lose players in the summer, and that'll take wage bills off. That's fine. But you still have to bring players in. And you need better players than what have left, because the players that have left have done fuck all for you. You've escaped relegation twice. You know, the sort of way.
I just think they're doomed. The picture, no matter what happens, whether it's this season they go down or next, I just think they're doomed. I mean, there's no... The only thing I could think, if I was running Everton now, I would look at Celtic, and I'd look at Ange Postecoglou and the Japanese players he's got, and I would try to get them in. That's the only solution. I wouldn't go to France. I wouldn't go to anyone who doesn't understand the culture. Those players up at Celtic have embedded in, British football culture. I would try and bring that man in and say, get as many of those lads in as you can. They're not on big contracts at Celtic. It's a different economy of scale.
Yeah, I know, but Pete, the thing is, right, they wouldn't be on big contracts, right? But you bring that man, like that manager. You're saying who'd sign for them? Why would they sign for them?
They're not signing for Everton. They're signing for him.
Yeah, but why would he sign for Everton?
Maybe you might be able to sell him that it's the Premier League. They've won the league.
I'd understand. I maybe understand the Leicester, right? Stadium they have, training ground they have. They might have a few quid. I get that, but not Everton. Like Scouser Pete says, Derby got 12 points in the start of the season and 8 at a later date. But I think the 8 they got at a later date was because of another something else that was triggered, and they knew it was going to happen. Like Derby knew it was coming. I think the Premier League will leave it to see where it goes. But it's another look. It could be irrelevant in 3 weeks' time if Everton were to go down.
Do anything. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Kev reckons they need to seriously gamble in the market with real bargain sign and sell the ones who you can sell. Yeah, but listen, I'm telling you now, if Everton finish 4th from bottom, the team that finished 3rd from bottom and the team that finished 2nd from bottom definitely are going to ask questions. If Everton are in the Premier League this season and nothing comes, they'll want to know yesterday what's going on with that financial situation.
By that logic, everyone just break the rules, because there's no accountability.
Yeah.
And just say it was an accident. It was an accident. We didn't mean to break the rules, which is what everyone will say, and they'd be right.
Last question, and I kept it from ages ago. Philip Bidwell asks, fair question for Gav and Pete. Did you think we would be in a position to stand a chance of finishing in the top 4 a month and a half ago? Pete.
Do you know what? With Liverpool, you have to wear 2 hats. I always think, and I think I said it earlier in this broadcast, we always put a run together at the end of the season where you're going to go. Like, there's always 10 games at Liverpool where they look like prime Liverpool. It doesn't matter what season it is. I thought we'd bother the top 4. I didn't think what has happened to Manchester United in particular. I mean, I look at Newcastle and I think they're the catchable ones, to be quite honest with you. And I don't know where Manchester United are going to score their next goal. But I wouldn't have said that to you a few months ago. I would have said, we'll put a run together and we'll look strong, 5th or strong. You know what I mean? But I never give up hope with Liverpool because it's Liverpool. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I wouldn't have thought we'd be this close, to be quite honest with you. I would have thought we'd still be looking at, with 3 games to go, we're within 7 points, and if they lose their 3 games, we can do it. But to be within a result, really, bad result for them, good result for us, of actually taking the spot, I would have said no.
I don't give up until it's over. You know this. Like, I done it. and I like Davo fucking hates me for it. Like Davo does be saying to me, "We just give her up," and I'd be like, "No," do you know what I mean? 18, 19. I was like, "Davo, come on, they're gonna," and Davo was like, "They're gonna win every fucking game." You know what I mean? And you see, you're gonna, and I don't. But being honest, I don't give up until it's mathematically impossible. I never do. But after drawing with Chelsea and Arsenal, and the form United were in, the form Newcastle were in, Spurs were a bit hit and miss, you know, and we were kind of around Brighton at the time, and I was kind of going, I felt there was too many teams to get past, right? You can usually rely on Spurs to be Spursy, as people say.
Yeah.
You know, could Newcastle or United fall out? But at the time, like, you know, people are looking going, geez, a couple of the wins here in United could be up City's arse, you know, the sort of way. I thought there was too many to get past, but when you look what's happened, you know, and it just shows you put 6-7 wins together, you know, Spurs have fallen off dramatically. Villa were going quite well and kind of dropped off. Brighton dropped off. They have a couple of games in hand, but I think that might be the end of them for the Champions League push. Newcastle, for the fact that they're going for this will be their fourth Champions League campaign in probably 15 years more.
Since that's
Bellamy,
Bellamy.
Bellamy. So you're probably looking around 2002, 3, maybe it's about 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, Pardew got them into it, didn't he? In around 2008, 9, in around that period. I think he did, yeah. I could be wrong. Someone will tell me I'm wrong. I have a feeling Pardew got them into a Champions League. But I thought the pressure's racking up on them. United just feel if you're in a game with them after 60, they're in trouble. But at the time, no. I thought there's just too many to get past. I know where Pete you're coming from, Pete. We go on a good run. But I didn't think it'd be enough. But okay, I did say Phillips was the last question. But really quickly, Pete, if we win our last 3 games, do you think we get in?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, of the 3 teams in contention, realistically, I know Brighton are in contention as well. We're the only team where I'm looking at it going, goals are not a problem. Now, defensively, Newcastle are better than us. Let's be honest. Defensively, Manchester United don't have a centre-half. I think they'll struggle. They'll concede goals in every game. And we will score in all of these games. So we've got a chance. We've got a puncher's chance. So, yeah, win the 3 games with it.
Barry Demney feels the 2, both Newcastle and Man United have teams. Home form will see them over the line just about. I think, look, they both have 4 games left. They need to not win 2 of them. That's basically what we need.
Yeah.
I think our biggest chance is actually Newcastle. I think if Newcastle were to lose to Leeds at the weekend and Liverpool were to beat Leicester, the pressure on them will be just unreal, and Anfield will be on wheels against Villa, and we'll go down and batter Southampton. Do you know what I mean? And then it'll be up to them to go and do that thing. With United, I think they've Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home. I think they've a couple. Chelsea. Sorry, I think they've Wolves, Bournemouth, Chelsea at home.
Both Newcastle and Manchester United have Chelsea, I think.
Yeah, United have Chelsea. Yeah, United have Chelsea the week before the last day of the season, I think so. There's just loads going on. I think I'd like to see. I just want Liverpool to win the last 3 and see where it gets us.
Yeah.
If it gets us in, great. If it doesn't, you know, what can you do? Yeah, you can look back at where we were poor, and we want to improve over the summer and be better next season. You know, that's the way it goes. Pardew got UEFA Cup football in an 8-year deal. Was it UEFA Cup? I thought it was a Champions League.
Was because it was 2002, 2003 was the last Champions League.
Dragon Ball says if City win the Champions League, does 5th place team get into the Champions League? No. The only way you can have 5 teams in it is if a team in the Europa League would win it. Therefore would go through with the team from the Europa League. But no, we wouldn't get a 5th spot if City won it.
Madrid all the way.
Yeah.
Madrid,
but look, that's been winners and losers. We've got through so much. We usually do an hour. We've done an hour and just an hour and 15. So no, but I've really enjoyed it. I enjoy it every Monday. Me and you just seem to talk about loads of different bits. We won't be here next week because Liverpool play next Monday. We might throw it in next Tuesday because people like winners and losers, I think. The charity is for breast cancer research. You hear me talk about it all the time, so I'm not going to say much on it tonight. It's in the link. It's in the description if you want to donate. lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com if you want to contact us to help us out with anything with regards to the golf day. Or if you feel you can help or you're not too sure what you could help with, email us and we'll tell you. We'll tell you straight, no, you can't help us, or yeah, you could absolutely help us. So, look, it's there. If you can help, please do so. It's 12 women running the Dublin Marathon for breast cancer research. It's a disease that touches so many people, not only in Ireland, all around the world. It's a fucking horrible disease. So for us to try get this 20 grand for these girls that are running 26.2 miles, and then it goes on to breast cancer research. 20 grand. I don't know what it can do for breast cancer research, but any help is always appreciated. Anything else before we go, Pete?
No, just if you can, give what you can. Obviously, breast cancer can affect anyone. 1 in 3 people in general are touched directly or indirectly by cancer. And obviously, Bang Average Golf. Subscribe, get your friends in. I'm loving it. It's going well. And listen, guys, just to be clear, I'm nothing to do with it. I'm not involved. I'm not swinging clubs.
You're not a golfer, yeah.
I'm just well, I do I like it.
You like a bit of golf, but you just like watching this for the crack, don't you?
I'm not with you. I'm not over there in Ireland. I'm just enjoying watching 2 lads going out having the crack and the variations on it. It's just good viewing. Get on it. Get your friends on it. I wanted to go on forever and ever.
Well, Bang Average Golf. If you want to subscribe to that, it is Bang Average Golf on YouTube. You will see it, and you will see me and Neely doing an awful lot of golf. We had our first guest last week, which was great. We're hoping to get more guests on in the future and play different golf courses in the future. Playing a different golf course this week, actually. So if you're out there and you're a member of a golf course and you want me to come and play it, and you can come and play along, you can play the golf with us, because we want people to come and play golf for us. Like, we don't want it to be me and Neely all the time. We want different people all the time playing golf, hitting good shots, bad shots, having a laugh with each other, slagging each other, and just having a good day. 18 holes probably takes about 5.5 hours with the cameras, but it's 5.5 hours of a laugh. So go and check out Bang Average Golf. If you know anyone that plays golf, get them onto it. If you know anyone that wants to play with us and they have a sense of humour, let us know, and we'll sort that out as well. That has been Winners and Losers for this week. For the rest of the week, tomorrow we're off. Wednesday we have, I think it's a transfer call-in show. I think Keith decided that last night, which is sound of him. Thursday we should have Viewers' Voice. Friday, Premier League forecast. Nothing on Saturday. Fatback for Sunday. Back with Full-Time Reds on Monday after Leicester. And next Tuesday we will do Winners and Losers because people like it. Thanks to Pete. Thanks everyone in the chat. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.